Welcome back to another episode of Run Till You're Done. Tonight's guest is might not need an introduction. Is quite famous in the ultra running scene around Scotland. He'll describe himself as a lifelong runner, career spanning about 40 plus years. Former GB international runner, 100 marathons, 100 ultra marathons, 15 West Highland Way goblets, including 2 podiums. He's a selector for Scottish and GB ultra running teams. Runs his own website, Runners Are Smilers. Contributes to a lot more sort of running news websites. I know that I've read a lot of them. He used to be a manager of a running shop, so he's seen all the gimmicks, all the fads come and go. I'm sure we'll get on to that. When we asked our guest to be on the podcast, he said, yes, no problem, but promise me you won't ask just the generic questions that he always gets asked. So hopefully we've come up with a few different ones tonight. Welcome our guest, Adrian Stott.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
We'll start off with possibly the one formal question. This year, things have changed. When we asked you to come on the podcast, we didn't know what we're going to talk about, but you've given us news that I don't think you've been asked about, and that is the news that as of 2026, you're going to be the race director for the West Highland Way. So, do you want to tell us about that and how things are going to change?
Right. Well, first of all, I've been involved helping to organise the West Highland Way for many years. While Ian's been in charge, Ian Beattie has been in charge. Ian has been steering the ship for many years now, since Dario passed away. In fact, Dario Melarani, the previous race director. And Ian steered it very well. It's a very successful event. It's oversubscribed every year. Feedback we get is just phenomenal every year. There's such a great community spirit around the event. So Ian is busy with many projects, as you know, both in his business life and his work with UK Athletics. So he just feels the time has come just to sort of not disappear. He's still being involved in the background, but he's just not going to be race director. So with my involvement over many years, I said, okay, I'll step up. But I must stress it's part of a team. I mean, we've got John and Helen Monroe very much involved in the background, who have been for many years. Sean Stone on the medical still. So, and we've got people who are very familiar to the West Highland Way family, like Julie Clark, Keith Hughes. And we've also added a few people to the committee. We've now got Neil McRitchie involved on the committee, who we hope it's not going to stop him still running it. The deal is he can still run it if he wants to, and try and go for number 20 this next year, along with Fiona Rennie. But he brings a lot of running experience of knowing the West Highland Way and just getting what the West Highland Way is to everybody, as well as being a GP and a medic who's worked at events. So he brings a huge amount of expertise, which I know we can tap into in the years going forward. But as to say, what are we going to change? Not a lot in the first instance, I don't think. Yes, we've had some meetings and we've sat down and sort of thought, like everyone does with their life in general, what small business owners, big corporations do. You have let's have a blank sheet of paper, and if we were starting this race tomorrow, what would we change? And there are many things you could change, but it's usually limited by either your ingenuity or more usually your budget. Yes, we could easily charge everyone $500 and change the race dramatically, but is that what people want? Maybe in a few years' time, who knows? So it's evolution rather than revolution. Yes, there will be some changes for next year. Don't think I can let you know what any of them are yet, because they're still under consideration. Yeah, but no, we're looking at several things like checkpoints, things like this, reviving podcast maybe, getting involved in changing the webinars, getting a bit more interest going. Not as a rival to yourselves, I'll make it clear, but just something to bring a bit more. It's for like just more involvement with the community and the families throughout the year, should we say? Yeah.
Well, one thing that I've seen posted, so I'm sure it's not a secret, is the deferral policy for pregnancy.
That's just one thing we've looked at. I mean, again, the art of being a good race director or a good sort of leader in any field is you listen to your runners and you listen to what you look and learn from what other races are doing. And some races out there are doing some good things. And you look at them and you see that gains traction, and it's a positive thing that people will appreciate. So yes, we brought that in. There might be other changes we make going along too, but I'll probably just say there will be changes, but it'll more be of a gradual nature rather than anything totally revolutionary.
Well, we'll wait and see.
No spoilers tonight. So you're the race director yourself now. Congratulations. Will you be going for Goblet 16 at all?
Not next year. I think I did my last West Highland Way 2016, 2017. And then got very busy with several projects and was still running recreationally fairly well, but I had an accident on my bike, as many of my friends will know, 3 years ago now, which necessitated having sort of a new hip, basically. Jumped the queue completely. Had an accident on my bike with a pothole in Edinburgh, and ended up smashing up my hip, and they gave me a new one. So although I've been able to get back to doing practically everything I want to do in life, running is still problematic. And I'm not getting any younger, let's face it. So I would never say never when you think that people like Paddy McDonald are still churning out West Highland Ways at age 73, 74. And Rob Reed finished it well into his 70s, and Andy Cole at 75 or 76 years young completed it. So never say never.
And while we're still on the topic of the West Highland Way, because we've got so much to cover tonight, well, this is the first side question that we have for you, Adrian, and one that just pops into my head. I think this is the way the interview will go. What is it about the West Highland Way? You've done it 15 times, but what is it that keeps you going back to doing that specific event?
What can I say? Everyone who's a runner, whatever distance they do, whether they're doing their first park run, whether they're doing marathons, ultras, they kind of, at some point in their formative running years, just find an event that just is magical. And for me, that was the West Highland Way. It just happened at the right time, right place, as it has to many people listening to this, I hope, and many people involved with the family. It's one of these races that's particular to Scotland. It's just the West Highland Way. I think anyone who's involved in the outdoors in Scotland appreciates that the West Highland Way is just our wonderful, iconic long distance trail. It's the original one. You can liken it to, like, England have their Pennine Way, which outdoor people in the north of England always want to sort of run or walk. I sit back, in the West Country, you've got all the coastal paths. There's so many long distance trails now, but the West Highland Way is just Scotland's iconic trail. And I think even if you're an outdoor person, you probably will walk it at some time in your life, either in a wanna or as a family bonding exercise with brothers, mums, dads, grandchildren, whatever. We see them all when we're out on the way, just hiking away. And if you're a runner, it probably is the ultimate challenge in Scotland. It's not the toughest. It's not I wouldn't say it's the most scenic. It is very scenic, but we won't claim it's the most scenic race. There's many scenic races in Scotland that are very beautiful. But it just has that iconic lure of being hard enough to challenge you, but not too hard to kill you, if that makes sense. It's achievable by anyone who just has a little plan over a year, 2, 3 years, whatever, to get it done.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's just something that even started going back to the very early West Highland Ways when Jim Stewart was the organizer, and then Dario following him, and how Ian and the crew have tried to develop it since. We've just tried to develop that sense of family. And we don't have an exclusive on that. You look at Lakeland 50, 100, you look at sort of the Hardmoors events, they've all got their little communities, which are great. But obviously the West Highland Way, being the iconic Scottish trail that it is something special.
Going back to, you've done it 15 times, going back to your sort of early days, what sort of is there anything that sticks out from year one that would say that this is what brought me back?
Probably it was, as I say, it was in my sort of whole running adventures, if you like. It just came at the right time. It's just something that really took me out of my comfort zone. That again is one of the attractions of the West Highland Way. It's just something that brings everyone together, sort of friends, family, volunteers, runners, and for one just wacky weekend in midsummer, we're all taken completely out of our comfort zone, whether we're helping, whether we're running, and we just have the most fantastic time and go back home with tales that keep us going for the next year, basically. And I think my first West Highland Way many years ago, 1991 was my first. I think 25 people started, I think about 15 finished. And in those days, you could do it unsupported or supported, and I did it unsupported. And I was very naive, young ultra runner. I'd done several ultras. There weren't many around in those days. In Scotland, there was just the two bridges and the West Highland Way, end of. Probably hard to believe now, and younger listeners will find that very hard to believe, that there was just two ultras in Scotland. And there weren't many more in England. There was the classic London to Brighton race. There were other long road races like the Woodford to Southend and the Blackpool to Preston, just road races joining towns basically, which have all gone because the traffic's just got too crazy. And everyone, it's not that we didn't run on the trails then, we all ran on the trails, but there were no races on the trails because the whole network of long distance footpaths wasn't there then, as it is now. Yeah. So I'd heard about the West Highland Way, and I'd done, I think, a couple of 24-hour races, those silly things that go around in circles, you know. And I'd met runners who'd done the West Highland Way because there weren't many what you call ultra runners around in those days. We were still looked at as a very lunatic fringe, you know, just bandpots going out and doing something really weird. And I arrived at the start of the West Highland Way with a whole lot of drop bags to put up the way, and hey ho, just over 22 hours later, I was in Fort William, but it was quite an adventure. There was a lot of little adventures on the way. And it just had a profound effect on me. With the so very few runners in those days, and the checkpoints were very minimal. There was just one or two guys close to a red phone box, which was mission controlled. There were no mobile phones, there was no internet. So checkpoints were by red phone boxes. You phoned your time into Fort William, mission control. And you had that feeling of just absolute wilderness and desolation. Because even the trail then, there weren't a number of people walking the trail. And it was like having a fabulous day out, you know, back in Monroe's. You were just out on this trail and you hardly saw a soul. And you were just going through this whole, I never even set foot on the West Highland Way before that race. Again, very naive, that at all. And this just wonderful landscape, starting in the lowlands, going, then get to Loch Lomond, you get to the mid Highlands, then you get up to the proper Highlands, and it's just seeing Scotland in midsummer in all its absolute beauty.
I've done the race 3 times, been involved since 2010, I think was my first involvement, and been involved every year since in either supporting or crewing. Yep. So as you say, it kind of sucks you in, you can't escape it. But for those that are watching on YouTube, Adrian's got a picture of the Devil's Staircase in the background there, and my memory of seeing Adrian on the race is Rob Sinclair was in the process of setting the record. He was about to run up the Devil's Staircase, and I was shouting profanities of him for telling him he was going too slow. And what I didn't know was round the corner, Adrian was standing there taking photos. So I'm sorry if you heard that.
I have to say, I'll be diplomatic and say I cannot recall that. What I do recall, for anyone listening and younger viewers as well, we're talking about Rob Sinclair, who still holds the record of the West Highland Way at something ridiculous. It's 13 hours 42 or thereabouts, I think. Yeah. And Mike was his crew that year. And I just have this memory being at that spot, as you say, at the bottom of the Devil's Staircase. And I was helping out that year, but I was on my way up to Fort William to help set up the finish, and just happened to be in the right place, right time. I saw you at Glencoe, I think, then scooted across to the Devil. So I thought, what if I can just get this magical shot? And I remember scooting up the trail to where that first little bridge is, just up from the little car park out in the fade, and tried to frame as best I could Rob coming over the bridge with the book haul in the background. It's there on the West Island website. You can see it. It's not a professional photographer would find a lot of faults with it, but it just captures that one moment. I remember thinking, well, okay, I'm just going to watch Rob and see how far he gets, and just see how far he runs before he walks up the Devil Staircase, as most of us do. And I just watched him run all the way up and over the top without sort of breaking step. That's how you run 1342 on the West Island Way. You can't afford to walk anywhere. You've just got to run the whole blooming thing.
Yep.
That's unreal, isn't it? I've got one more question as well before we do move on about the West Highland Way. You're saying about from 1991, no mobile phones, no internet, no Garmin, Strava, none of your nonsense. The trail itself, has it always been as well signposted as what it is today, or was there definitely still potential to get lost on it?
Definitely, it was signposted. There was potential to get lost, more than there is these days. As I said, the trail is a lot different from what it was then. I mean, yes, you talk to some of the old school people and they'll argue about, oh, it was harder and we did it back then, but the trail is what it is, and it's evolved. And yes, you look at what they've done to Conic Hill now. You look at Glenfillan, beyond being glass, all the way up to Derry Derrick Farm and just beyond was just a bog, basically. That whole Land Rover track that goes right up from being glass was hardly there, but it wasn't there. That was driven through years later. There's a very low level path that went right along by the river, overlooking the falls of Fallock there. And I remember one year the river was in flood and the river was overflowing into the field, so you were up to your ankles in mud, which isn't there now. Yeah. And the way they've improved the early part of Loch Lomond side, we all love that stretch of Land Rover track from Raroden, and it goes on for about 5 or 6 miles now, but that only went on for about a couple of miles back then. So there's a lot more, shall we say, of the uneven lochside path than there is now.
They've got it easy nowadays.
It's not easy. It is what it is, but it's different, yeah. But it's still has a start, has a finish. The West Highland Way is there. You're still seeing Scotland in all its grandeur.
And your other things that you do, organize the races, and one thing that you do is you're a selector for GB and the Scotland ultra teams.
Yeah.
You might not know this, but I was aware of you watching a race. It was the D33 in, I'm going to say 2014. I ended up coming second. There was a minute probably a minute 20 or something like that behind David Gardner, and he got selected for the ACP based on him winning that. And I was a regret of mine, because he told me afterwards if he was dying, and I knew that if I knew that, I could have gone faster. But yeah, he got the selection and I didn't. That was a regret.
In fairness to Dave, I think I don't think it was just that race the selection was based on. That was a key race for him, certainly, and we always look at a lot of ultra races, but the main thing is with any selection, you look at your policy is written for you, basically, by other people, and you just got to go with what the policy says. Yeah, and it's a long time ago. But I mean, again, selectors probably shouldn't reveal their confidences, but I think there were other factors apart from just that race that were taken into account. Like previous performances 100k and possibly previous road marathons as well. Yes, yeah.
I assume that other things, like certain years you have certain races, and that is the qualifier.
For the 100k team, we've never had a qualifier as such. we've identified, people have asked us, what should I run? You know, you get a lot of good marathon runners wanting to move up in distance, or you get people who run things on the trails and sort of say, is that good enough? And you sort of say, well, it's very hard to quantify, but you've just got to, bottom line, have a policy, which I think, for in terms of what the ACP does now, if you look at the Scottish Athletics website for the Scottish team anyway, deemed to be capable of running 7.5 hours for 100k for men, and I think it's 8:55 for women. But performances in other distances close will be taken into account, which is a lot more, should we say, some say lenient. Then you get a Great Britain policy, which is just usually in black and white. You must do this time, or you just won't even be thought about. Yeah.
And what non-running habit would you say has made you a better runner or race organizer?
Ooh. Probably many. I would say, for those that don't know me, I've had a lifelong interest in yoga and meditation, and I practice meditation daily. And I would say my meditation practice has helped me be a better all-round person, so we say. I mean, that sounds a bit glib, but it's given me the ability just to listen and probably just take a step back at times and just sort of say, okay, what's going on here? Now, just listen to runners, listen to other race organizers, and just try to come up with things that will make them have a good experience when they're running a race. Because that's all people want, really. Yes, a lot of people are looking for PBs and looking sometimes, as you say, trying to qualify for national teams, but the majority of runners just want to go out and just have that total enjoyment of just being out on the trail, out doing a marathon, out doing their local 10K. They just want to have a good experience when they pin a number on.
With yoga and meditation, obviously, like the word mindfulness usually comes to mind when I certainly think about it. Do you feel it brings that to your running and your organising in general life? Does it make you more mindful?
Hey, yes, I would say so. You're just always trying to identify ways you can improve. You know, people use the word self-improvement very glibly, you know, and just going beyond the beyond, whatever, but you're always trying to do whatever you're doing just that little bit better. You know, it becomes like a daily sort of discipline. Okay, if I'm just washing the dishes, I want to do a good job of it. You know, if I'm sweeping the garden leaves, I just want to make sure everyone is picked up, you know. And you transfer that to looking at a race. Okay, how can we do this better? You know, you've got little teams in a race, like even in the West Highland Way, you've got little teams at work, and you sort of, I know John and Helen have their volunteer teams they work with, and they're going to teams saying, okay, you're at this little checkpoint, how can we help you? What do you need? It's just a case of always just trying to find that little bit extra that you can do to make life, should we say, just have those little magical moments.
Speaking about magical moments, drift back into West Highland Way again, because as what we'll be doing all podcast, if you had a feeling or a moment, or however you want to express it, to do with running, to do with West Highland Way, and you could bottle up that feeling, what would it be?
I think it's just, as you said, the essence of family and community, and that everyone is there to help each other. And I think it's just epitomized so much by anyone listening to this who's actually been there or just seen it on video. The moment when the last finisher gets their goblet. For those that don't know, the West Highland Way is unusual for many races. It's not just a prize giving with a podium for the first three and everyone else gets a medal as they cross the line and you're sent off home. We have a prize giving that in Fort William that coincides shortly after the cut-off time of 35 hours. It's midday on Sunday. And every runner comes to that, and it's like, I think Ian best describes it, Ian Beattie, as like a graduation ceremony. Everyone who's run that race comes up and get their goblet, and it's just like, it's just giving that family feeling of equality. It doesn't matter whether you finished right at the back of the pack or right at the front. You have challenged the way and you won, basically. And some people have challenged the way and have come up short for many reasons. We've all been there. Stuff happens, but the initiative we initiated many years ago, I think I think it was Murdo McCune who came up with the idea that the winner of the race presents the last finisher with their goblet, and that moment at the end of the prize giving at the West Highland Way is always very magical. Yeah. And it's almost standing applause from everybody and hardly a dry eye in the house. And everyone goes home buzzing.
I think it's an aspiration for some people to be the final finisher because you get the biggest cheer at the end. I can imagine myself waiting at that sports centre and saying, right, on you go, on you go.
It just happens. I don't think people try to be the last finisher. I think everyone who does the West Highland Way, and over the years you see hundreds of people who've taken on the challenge, and some are naturally gifted. Some people, as the coaches say, chose their parents well and can hardly need to train and can get around it. For some people, it's maybe the hardest thing they'll ever do in their lives. Like Mike's done it a few times and done all his backyard ultras and things. I've done many things, but some people are not naturally gifted. They have to graft, and they can spend 4 or 5 years getting to the point where, okay, I'm ready to run the West Highland Way. It's a little life goal they've had, and it'll struggle. It'll be a real roller coaster, but they'll get to the start line and they'll get to Fort William, and they may never do something as hard in their life again. And those people are sort of really the real heroes of the West Highland Way, because they're just taking on a challenge that they thought almost wasn't attainable. But over the course of time, it's become, okay, maybe I could do this. And then when they actually get there, anyone who's been at the finish of the Highland Way, it's like any race, just grown men just cry bucketfuls at the finish because they've just achieved something that, as I say, it's taken them out of their comfort zone big time.
I was in the hall at the end of last year, and as the last runners were coming in, I heard somebody's crew saying, "Oh no, he can't be last person. He can't be last person." And somebody turned around and said, "No, I think it'll be all right. I think you'll want to be the last person."
So, Adrian, as Mike mentioned in the intro, you've done 1 or 2 ultras. So I'm hoping the answer for this question is going to be quite an interesting one. What is the weirdest thing that you've ever eaten mid-race?
Oh, when you sent that question, I thought about it, and I can't really think of anything weird I've eaten. I think I've always been pretty sensible with my food.
You need to try a cold can of soup then.
Cold can of soup. Yeah, I've had them, certainly, but that's not really weird. That's just sort of normal stuff. Yeah.
See, it's normal to eat cold soup.
Not normal.
It's normal. You just deal with what's in front of you, and if someone has a can of cold soup in front of you, I think I've had that experience. Yeah, you just go with it. Sometimes when you're doing ultras, everyone who's done an ultra and done many ultras, especially longer ultras, sometimes you get into a checkpoint, or you find your crew, and you want something, but you're not really thinking properly. You've got a plan and you know what you like, but then your crew just presents about 4 things in front of you, and so you just, what do I pick? And you just automatically drawn to one of them. And usually the intuition says what you're looking at is probably something that you need. You're wanting something savory or salty, you're wanting the sweet things, or you're just wanting that cold kind of soup. Just okay, that's going to hit the spot.
And following on from that, what do you think ultra running does teach us about human nature?
Oh, difficult one. I would say it teaches you that, trying to not sound too glib here, but the unattainable is attainable. Getting back to, my meditation teacher was Sri Chinmoy, as many people know, some people don't, but his whole philosophy was based on self-transcendence, and you can always do more. And, he was obviously a meditation yoga teacher, but his whole philosophy of his transcendence in the running world, that ultra running is a perfect metaphor for just always going beyond the beyond. And no matter who you are, what your level is, whatever running ability you have, there is something that can be brought out of you to make you a better runner.
And on a very, very important question that you might not have an answer for. You're running the West Highland Way. You're going for goblet number 16. it is a roasting hot day. You've got to Oxford Tire Farm, you saw your crew, you haven't seen them for since Rowerdennon, and they said, oh, you can have an ice cream at Tyndrum. Brody's store, that used to be the place to get it from. What flavour ice cream would you get?
Chocolate mint chip.
Oh, I wouldn't say no to that either.
Yeah. And if I didn't have that, I'd probably go for something from my childhood. I was born and brought up in Cornwall, and so I'd have to go for Cornish dairy ice cream, which is proper ice cream.
That's a good answer. So at least I know now for next year's race, I know what to bring you.
Thank you. I look forward to that.
I think in the years that I've had it at that point, it's been something like a Calippo, because that's the only thing that you can get. But on a normal day, I would probably have something similar to the mint choc chip as well.
And if races had theme music attached to them, which some of them actually do, but if there was one that you happened to be doing and it was played if you ran past the checkpoint, what kind of music would you enjoy?
Well, my musical tastes are very varied. I don't think I can pinpoint one music, but maybe it's a little spoiler alert that watch this space for ideas we might have for checkpoints next year.
Well, I look forward to that. You're making this voluntary thing more and more appealing, Adrian.
But personally, as I say, my musical taste is just inspired by sometimes the surroundings I'm in or what's going on. Like sometimes, like you might be running up Loch Lomond side, and it's just. I mean, I never usually listen to music when I'm running. I much prefer to hear nature's orchestra. The sounds and the sights that are going on around me. And even now, if I go for a walk, I don't listen to podcasts or anything. I just like to go out and just experience what's in front of me, if you like. Yeah. And it's just like in the West Highland way when you're going up Loch Lomond side, you just sort of sometimes have these. Might sound a bit weird. You just have like sort of like an Irish or Scottish sort of Celtic music. You get violins and flutes going through your head because it's just that sort of countryside. And as you get further north, you get more majestic music. It might sound crazy, but I have this wonderful memory of going to a place you're very familiar with, Mike, the top of Jelly Baby Hill, and getting to the top of Jelly Baby Hill and just looking out, you get that to the summit, and just see that vast expanse of Rannoch Moor stretching out ahead of you. And it's just one of those sort of many wow moments. It's just as the scenery opens up as you go north. And believe it or not, the thing that came into my head was Beethoven's Ode to Joy. Everyone knows that. Bum, 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 bum. And I just found myself careering down the hill, just blasting that out of my mouth at top speed. You know?
So the thing, when you mentioned going up Jelly Baby Hill, from a long time ago, I remember Peter Duggan being at the top of Jelly Baby Hill with Murdo playing on his
yes.
tin whistle, playing
yes.
the Star Wars music.
Yes. Wonderful cameo moments. Yes.
You say about classical music, I actually love it and had it on in my car for the first time in ages last week. And I thought to myself, this would actually be like, if you picked the right theme in classical, you could have a great run with it.
I mean, I challenge anyone listening to Beethoven's Ode for Joy and just get out of a chair and start marching around the room.
I think I'll do that after this.
So getting to Fort William is no problem, you know.
Right. The next question was, what is the strangest or most scientifically questionable bit of advice that either you've been given at a checkpoint or just in running in general?
Again, I can't think of anything really strange. You know? Maybe I'm just too normal.
You are absolutely not normal, the amount of ultra running you've done.
Yeah. I mean, there are so many scientifically questionable fads that are around. A bit of advice, you know. it's all relevant to where you are at the time. You know, questionable advice of one situation with one person, how they're feeling, is probably absolutely appropriate at that time, but to someone else at another point in time is just bonkers. You know? Yeah. So it's probably a case of dealing, as I say, dealing with what's in front of you and how you're feeling at any point in time. Yeah.
And what's a race or moment that never made the headlines in the running world or in general, but has meant the most to you personally?
Do you mean a personal race of mine, or just an experience of somebody
Any
else?
or both?
Mine personally was probably my best 24-hour race when I was in the British team, and it's European Championships in Holland. And it's a very special moment because it's my first GB vest, and I managed to place in the top 10, and we got the bronze medals. And it was just a bunch of guys who just, when they represented Great Britain and had fun, you know. It was, you know, very much under the radar, hardly made any headlines. I think it might have made a little line in the Scotsman as a Press and Journal just as a result, but nothing else apart from that. But it was just the most fantastic, life-defining experience for me, which I look back on very fondly. In fact, I've still got the pick of the team just ahead of me on my shelf. The team was, I'm going to show this to you because some viewers might know this. There's, oops, it's not coming out on there, is it? It's a younger version of me on the right-hand side there. This gentleman here is a legend, otherwise known as Don Ritchie. This is a guy called Walter Hill, who viewers in Scotland probably won't know, but this guy on the far left is William Sitchell from Orkney, who knows a little bit about ultra running.
Just a bit.
So, and we've known each other for many years, run against each other, race against each other, knock 9 bells out of each other in races. And just the camaraderie we had of that sort of weekend in Holland, to come back with team medals, was still a very special memory. Yeah.
And what year was that?
Oh, I think that was 1875. No, it was October 2000. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And the next one might be one that you've already mentioned, but is there any behind the scenes moments, stories that people wouldn't believe if you told them?
Probably nothing I can mention in public. I know we nearly set the tent on fire at the ACP at Perth once. But we got away with it. No, luckily, no, we had a plan to deal with it. So good race organisers do. Yeah.
That's because you're running too fast, right?
No, but every race organiser will tell you something. You plan for the unexpected, but stuff always happens. Yeah.
And quite a philosophical. Sorry, you were going to say there, Adrian?
No, carry on. Best of probably said in public anyway.
The next question is quite philosophical. So what would you say to your younger self before your very first ultra?
Okay, I actually thought hard about this, and probably my first advice would be, get on if you're having a go, but you should have waited another year. And the second bit of advice, and that's, if I could elaborate on that, using the classic expression, if I knew then what I know now, what would I have told my younger self, which is the question you're asking. I see too many people setting themselves too big a challenge too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And usually, they don't even get to the start line because they're not ready for it yet, or they get to the start line and don't have a good experience. Whereas if they just wait another year, consolidate where they are, they'll be better prepared and they will actually enjoy it much more. It'll still be hard, but if you're going to challenge yourself and push the boat out, you want to have a bit of fun while you're doing it as well.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be torture. It should be a nice life-defining experience for you. Yeah. So
I think
the other main thing I would say is just you have to learn patience in any ultra, whether it's in a marathon, you have to learn patience. In an ultra, especially, you just have to learn patience, and just and that's something you learn It's true of 50k, it's true of 50 miles, it's true of things like the West Island Way. Even I was lucky enough to be at an Albi last weekend for the World 24-Hour Championships, 2 weekends ago now. And all the people there are people who have learned how to run 24 hours as an event. They weren't just doing their first one. There's some incredible performances, as you might have heard. The world record went for the ladies with Sarah Webster running ridiculous 173 miles. But you don't just wake up in the morning and run 173 miles in 24 hours. It's something that is built up over many years, all those amazing performances. And I guess what I'm trying to say is it's worth patience and waiting another year to make sure you actually enjoy the target goal that you've set yourself.
I think also people go into it too early, and they might get to the finish, but as you say, you might not enjoy it. And if you waited and actually are ready for it, then you would enjoy it and then go back and do it 15 times.
Yeah, it's and it's not that people can't do it. Of course they can. But I come across so many runners these days who've gone from like half marathon to doing the fling. You know, they sidestep the marathon completely. You know.
Yeah.
And it's good on them, I'd say. But you have to ask yourself, should they have? They've obviously done it, but if you're going to take up running, you want it to be a lifelong experience that you're going to savor and enjoy.
And the next question was cliches, sayings, or whatever out there, like it's tortoise beats the hare and stuff like that. It's a journey. Trust the process. All this the cliches that are always out there. If there's one thing that you could delete out of existence, what would it be?
This may sound a bit controversial, but I wouldn't delete any of them, because I think even the most glib cliche is okay in the right context. When it was first said, when someone first said to somebody, you know, it's a journey, it was probably meant from the heart for one coach to a particular person.
Yeah.
In a particular point in time to inspire that person.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And the same as all the other ones, you know, trust the process, etc. Yes, you do have to trust the process. But if it's said in context in the right place, I think any little phrase is good. And if it's said from the heart and well-meaning at a certain point in time to an athlete at the right time in the right moment. But yeah, a lot of cliches. I guess what you're saying is they're overused and not used in the right context, or just used as a throwaway remark. Whereby any bit of advice is relevant at the right point in time to the right person.
And I've got 2 questions rolled into the one about kit. So which piece of running kit do you feel is the most overrated? And then following that, which cheap piece of junk has secretly saved your race?
Oh, it's not a running kit. This is probably a personal opinion, because it's now valid, but I've always felt that technology has been overrated. It's not to say they're wrong. I can remember when heart rate monitors were very young, again, this is giving my age away a bit, and I went to a lecture with the New Zealand coach Arthur Lydiard, who many people have heard about. He was taught all the New Zealanders how to win gold medals basically at the Olympics in the 60s, and then became the national coach of Finland and was involved in setting up their programs so the Finnish runners became world-class distance runners. And at that lecture, heart rate monitors were just a new thing then. I don't think there were even Garmin's around then. But someone asked him, what do you think of heart rate monitors? And Arthur, being a very down-to-earth Kiwi, just shot back, the Kenyans don't use them. So said all they do is when they run easy most of the time, and twice a week they just run their guts out, but they're not watching the heart rate, they're just running till they're done, basically, as the thing goes. So I wouldn't say technology is bad, but I would say that if there's one thing that has been misused over the years, possibly, and given more relevance than maybe it should have been, it's running technology. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's like our expressions again, in the right place and for the right session, absolutely fine. But don't wear your heart rate strap overnight so you can find out what your heart rate is in the night or first thing in the morning. I know people who've done that. Trust me. You know, it's...
and the other question was, is there any sort of cheap bit of tat that's actually been beneficial to you?
My daughter's school bag saved me on my first West Highland Way. Back in 1991, there were no hydration vests. There were... Pete Bland had his famous bum bags. You had sort of big backpacks, and here I am doing my first long trail race up the West Highland Way, and okay, I've got to carry some gear for a change. You know, what do I put it in? And all I could find was my daughter's school bag. Yeah.
Fair play. Bags, I'll tell you what, hydration bags, they can be overrated. I think Biggs was not a man that got called Bagman, Mike.
He's been doing that for a while. Yeah. He prefers to run with what people call a shopping bag, but it's like a dry bag, and he puts his hydration bottles in that, and he just carries it in one hand, like as if he was carrying a shopping bag. So it works for him. That's how he runs. So
I've been known to just go out for training runs back in the day, just carrying a 1.5 litre bottle of water.
Mm-hmm.
Just there you go, 1.5 litres. That'll do me for the next 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah. And when you're out for 3 or 4 hours and all the ultras that you've done, your shoes have done the miles. If your shoes could talk, what would they say?
Please retire me before I get too old.
Is that your body or your shoes?
Shoes. Yeah. Again, having worked in the shoe trade, you see all these, they are glib expressions, you know, your shoes will last 500 miles, 700 miles. And when you dig down and find out who's done that research, it's usually been funded by a shoe company.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What is the longest you've got out of a pair of shoes? Just out of interest.
I've got old pairs I've probably run 2,000 miles in. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I won't wear them all the time. You know, I sort of retire them, and because they've had special memories of certain races, I just haven't thrown them out or taken to the recycling or put them, you know. So I used to just bring them out now and again just to go for a little run of them and just have memories of it. Oh, I remember when I did this race.
And you might have actually already have answered this for us, but with the evolution of the sport, I mean, 1991 was quite a while ago now. Technology and everything coming in. Is there anything else that might make your eyes roll or think, oh, there's no need?
Yes and no. Yes, sometimes it does, but then you think, as I was saying before, in the right context, all new things are good. You know, in the right person, as long as they're used for the purpose that they're meant for, and that person is getting a benefit from them and isn't just sort of following the crowd, you know, not just taking on a diet because Jim Walmsley's on the same diet, or Jim Walmsley has this gel, so it must be the greatest thing to have, you know. Yeah, it's all about context for you as a person. Yeah, and you should find what works for you and follow that. Yeah.
The next question, it might fall under the same sort of thing. It's, what is the strangest thing you've found, but strange to you might not be strange to somebody else? What's the strangest thing you found left behind at a checkpoint or after a race or in somebody's kit bag?
Trying to think, but every year we always have quite a lot of lost property, so it gets down the road to Fort William eventually. But it's usually pretty run-of-the-mill things. I've spoken to find anything that's been totally weird. Yeah.
I've seen a picture of
somebody. What have you seen? Tell me what you've seen. Yes. Yeah.
I've not seen it personally, but I know somebody called Flip. He always puts up a picture who is a picture of a, let's say, prophylactic filled with, I think it's something like rice pudding, and the person's just nipped the end off of it and squirted it into their mouth. Each to their own. Yeah. Not for me.
Yeah.
Can I actually share a story that I heard at a race? And I was talking to other volunteers and race directors, and to keep anonymity, I can't say that word. I will not mention who or where it was, but the strangest thing they've actually seen, or probably the grossest, was a runner had a misfortunate accident, shall we say, and used a really good branded jacket, waterproof, and ended up throwing it away. And they actually fished it out the bin and said, right, who's taking it home? Because I'm just going to wash it. Who wants it? Because apparently it was quite an expensive jacket.
Wow.
So
Amazing.
that's your standard. I says, I think I'd take it home and wash it.
Yes.
And the next question, Mike drafted a few of these questions, and I think this is a great one. It's probably one of the best ones I think we've had on the podcast. What is a smell that instantly reminds you of running?
Well, for me, it's things like at the moment, just autumn leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Just running through woodland or by riverside, and just that smell of just sort of it's not really decay, it's almost there's a start of renewal again. It's just like the whole changing of the seasons, and it's just like in spring you get the blossom coming out. It's just, as I say, I don't listen to music when I'm running, and never did. I was always just trying to absorb the sights and sounds that were around you all the time, so you just get the feeling of those autumn leaves and the blossom coming in the spring, and just nothing in the winter, just absolutely bare trees. Or just being at the top of a hill and the sound you've got in your ears is just a wind almost blowing you off the darn thing. You know, it's just those little ethereal sounds of nature that just stay with you. Yeah.
And next one was, if you were to take all your running experiences and you're writing a running Bible for anybody, whether it's new or old people, not old people, but old runners, what would your commandments be?
I think I came up with 4. I actually thought about this one. I think it was I think we alluded to this a bit earlier, but don't let running define you, running itself. You know, always what's the expression? This is a glib expression, get a life. But what I mean by that is just have a balance. Yeah, running is important to all of us. You know, it's something we spend hours thinking about, talking about, reading about, listening to podcasts about these days. But that line between sort of dedication and obsession, it's good on one level, but it's not good if it just totally takes over your life. You need to have a balance and have, if you haven't got family and friends, you've got some interests, whether that's sort of jigsaws or basket weaving or whatever. You just need something to take you away from running and just strike a balance. You know, the world is such an amazing place with so many people. I'm used to dealing with the ultra community and runners, but this afternoon my wife took me to the Andy Goldsworthy exhibition here in Edinburgh at the National Galleries. And if you haven't been and you're in Edinburgh, it's there for another week. Do go and see it. It is just amazing. But this is an artist, Andy Goldsworthy, who just makes these amazing installations that are just from another sort of realm of consciousness, you know, and it's just something totally different to the space I'm usually used to. But you can relate to it because being an ultra runner, you're used to sort of going somewhere different, if you like. Yeah. And this guy, Andy Goldsworthy, is doing it in an artistic realm, as musicians do it in a musical realm. It's just like there are many ways you can explore personal boundaries. And still have fun and still have your own community. You know, like we live in our own little bubble of ultra running or cross country running, as I was at a cross country meet at the weekend, whatever. But outside that bubble, there were so many other bubbles that are all interrelated. And yeah, just don't get trapped in the ultra running bubble. Number 1. Number 2, set challenging but realistic goals, which I think we've talked about already. Sounds a bit boring, but yes, push the boat out. You can, everyone can do amazing things relative to their own capacity, but be patient, have a bit of time over it, you know. Yeah, because you'll enjoy it much better. Number 3 would be listen to others. When you start running, you read a few books, you read a few podcasts. You might be lucky enough to have found a coach. You might not, but if you can't get a coach, just go and listen to others. And I remember people do it to me now, I think. Tables are turned. I remember when I was a younger runner, or even just 20 years ago, you'd be at a race, or it could be any race, could be a cross-country race, could be a local 10K, and you're in the cafeteria afterwards at a coffee shop, whatever, and you're all these people hanging out there talking about how the race was. And there's probably a slightly older guy just sitting by himself in the corner. And I used to home in on them. I was like, I'm going to go and sit with this guy, because you know that they've got interesting stories to tell. And usually, if you 99 times out of 100, you sit down and spend 15 minutes with this total stranger. They've got a lifetime of running inspiration to impart, and there'll be one little gem there that you can take away and put into your own running. So next race you're at, ditch your friends, go and talk to the stranger in the corner.
See, I've done that, Adrian. It gets me into bother usually.
Pick your moments, Nikki. Pick your moments.
They might be the loner in the corner for a reason.
I get that as well. Yeah, but you get an intuition that this guy is going to be interesting. Yeah. Or girl. Yeah. Number 4. Just as important as running is rest. There's an obsession in just getting the training in, doing this, doing that, miles in a week, counting them up. Or Sunday lunchtime, done a long run, I've only done 95, let's get back out and do another 5, so 100 miles looks good in the training diary. Sounds familiar to a lot of people, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's not to say you should take on the whole Kenyan philosophy of get up in the morning, go for your run, have your breakfast, go back to sleep again. Then get up and go for another run, go back to sleep again. But it's a balance to be struck. One of the best bits of advice I was given is just see your body as like an elastic band, or like a TheraBand that physios use. It's just, you've got to stretch it to make it to reach your potential and push the boat out so that you can run the West Highland Way or run whatever race you want to run, but you've got to let that rubber band go back again. And coaches call it the adaptation process. Anyone who's a coach or has read any coaching books, you have to let your body adapt to the pressure you've been under. The whole principles of training are very simple. You put strain on the body so it can improve and do wonderful things. But if you don't let it rest, that rubber band is going to keep stretching and stretching and stretching. And what's going to happen to the rubber band? Breaking! It's going to break. And the only way you can deal with that is just factor in some quality rest. And that is an important part of the training schedule, is planning the miles. And a lot of coaches forget about that. And runners certainly don't think about it. But plan your training, plan your rest days, plan your easy days, plan your day when I'm just going to go and do something else. Yeah.
I really like that analogy with the rubber band, because I think even out with running, I think you can apply that to life as well.
Yeah, burnout is a thing. And I see it happening in novice ultra runners. I see it happen with elite athletes in GB teams. Burnout, the real thing. They just, I think there's an American swimming coach did a very good study on, it's another little analogy of entering the valley of, I think I call it the valley of death or something. It's just like, runner A goes and runs a 10K race and he's expecting to run, 35 minutes, 36 minutes, shall we say, and they run 37, 38 minutes because they're overtrained and they're tired. So what do? Instead of sort of saying, okay, I'm tired, I need to rest a bit, they sort of say, okay, if I train even harder, I'll definitely get down to 35 minutes, and they go out hammering themselves, and 2 weeks later they're goosed. Whereas if they just take a step back and say, okay, I'm feeling tired, I'm sluggish, my heart rate's up in the morning, let's just take a week out here and then come back and start again.
Well, I think after that, the answer to those questions, Mike, I'll definitely be writing those down, because what a great answer that was. It was really, really good advice. Thank you for sharing.
Like, we spend all this time trying to get to a start line, and we've all seen it. We've all got friends who've done it who don't get to that start line because they just don't follow simple little rules. They don't listen to their bodies, basically. Yeah, it's heartbreaking sometimes because you see the effort they put in, and they get a little injury, they get sick, and they just carry on training. And you just think, oh, I'm on a streak. I've got to go out and do my 2 miles today. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Go and have a walk. Don't need to run. Just go out and walk around the block. Walk down to the shops and back. Just get your exercise in, but listen to your body. It's just you're going to pay for it later.
Yeah.
I think the only problem that I can see with that answers is that we can't ask that question again because Adrian's already given us all the answers.
There's plenty more out there. Yeah.
I don't know. We could divide the running community because people would listen to other answers and go, "No, you're wrong."
you have to accept. I mean, it's all relative to what you're doing. If I just paint a picture of what I've been doing the last 6-7 weeks, in terms of saying take it easy and rest, I was helping at the wonderful Sri Chinmoy 3,100-mile race for 3 weeks in New York, which for people who don't know, it's the longest road race in the world, certified road race that goes around an 800-meter block in New York for 52 days. So you've got guys and gals there who are just pushing things way beyond what is normal, basically. Yeah. So, and they're living proof that you can do sort of crazy things and survive. Yeah. But that's people who've spent years and years getting to that point. They haven't just woken up in the morning and decided I'm going to run 3,000 miles. They just it's something they've done after 10, 15, 20 years of consistent training. And that's the same as anyone just looking at their first ultra, their second ultra, moving up. It's just having that adaptation and just being sensible. Doesn't sit well with ultra runners. No, never has and never will. Very nature is just to push boundaries out and sort of be bonkers, basically. Yeah. So, but within that, you can have much more enjoyment if you just take the time to rest.
I think that's what makes it unique, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the challenge. Whether I've got friends who are ultra distance swimmers and swim the channel and things. And it's a similar sort of mindset. It's just a mindset that you've got to push yourself, but you still have to relax and recover as well. I think the golden rule is, which is a saying Sri Chinmoy had about things. Yes, push yourself to the limit, but don't end up in hospital.
Yeah.
And before Nikki asks, yes, I have considered doing that race, but no, I couldn't get the time off work or family or life. So there you go.
Yes.
So following on from the evolution of the sport, what comes with that is modern technology for social media, especially. Do you think that has helped or harmed the sport?
It's done both.
Mm-hmm.
It's great that you can now, like, just take the West Island Way as an example. You're not waiting until Monday morning to read your Scotsman or Tuesday till Fred comes back to the club to get the result. It's there in real time and live, and people are talking about it and telling you Fred's at Alta Tyre or Joe's going to be at Glencoe in 5 minutes. And that's fabulous. Downside is, do you really want to know every bit about their daily social life?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe yes, maybe no. Again, in the right context, yes. But I guess what I'm saying is, it's like the old analogy with the TV. You control the on/off button. Just find out what social media you want in your life, and just I don't want to feel like I'm on a soapbox, but I mean, it's draining.
Yeah,
it's physically and mentally draining. Social media people, and I see it as runners who are trying to keep your schedule, and it's just like if I go as a team for a championship, we try to just get them to limit their phone use in the week before a race, because they just want to focus on the race. They don't want to focus on telling the world about what they're doing. Yeah, they want to tell the world about what they're doing. It's good they do that, because that's the plus side of it. People want to know what they're doing. If they're in a team and things, yeah. But at the end of the day, they've got the priorities running their race, not sort of how many Instagram followers they've got.
And the next question is one of our standard sort of questions, and it can be awkward to ask, but we've got a twist on it. There's two parts. First part is, have you got anybody that you can think of that you would like to go for a run with, either alive, not, fictional or real?
I've been very lucky that I've actually been able to meet a lot of very good runners. But if there's anyone of the current sort of crop who I would like to go out for a run with, I'd probably pick two, if that's allowed.
Yeah, you can pick as many as you want. You could have a whole train.
I actually did meet Jim Walmsley very briefly in Confranc at the World Trail Champs recently. I had an interesting sort of just 5-minute chat with him. But I would love to go for a longer run with Jim Walmsley. For those who don't know, is the American runner who I believe has the certainly one Western States. I'm unsure he still has the record. Also, is one of the fastest 100K times. His versatility is amazing. He can run a good marathon. He can run a good 100K. He can run a good 100-mile on the trails. And the other character I find fascinating of all the runners, I don't follow that many actually, but of the runners I do follow, Francesco Puppi, the Italian trail and mountain runner. Puppi. Look him up, Francesco Puppi. Follow him on Instagram. He's got some very interesting stuff he puts out there. And I would he thinks deeply about the sport. He's involved in it at a very high level. And I would just love to sort of sit down with him or have a coffee or just go for a run with him. Yeah.
And the second part to the question was same rules.
Okay.
But who would you like to see run the West Highland Way? Whether they might be fictional or not.
Jim Walmsley and Francesco Puppi.
Fair enough.
You fantasize. I mean, yeah, Ian and I and the guys, we fantasize. We've had fantasy West Highland Way. Who would you like to do? What sort of time could Courtney do on the West Highland Way, for God's sake? We desperately would like someone to come and have a go at Lucy Cahoon's West Highland Way record for the ladies. It's stood to be in there for far too long. And you think there are people around who could do it, but how do you make that more attractive? Maybe that's a challenge for me over the next 2 or 3 years. How can we attract some better runners to come and do this? As I say, the West Highland Way is a very successful event. Mm-hmm. We hope the entries go live this Saturday, the 1st. Put that plug in for that. Get your entry in. Think about it carefully and be patient and wait another year if you have to.
Follow the commandments.
Follow the commandments, yes. But you sort of think if there's anything I would like to do personally is just to attract some better runners. And to do that, you've got to look at things like, well, how do we attract them? Is it prize money? Do you give lead entries, stuff like that, which the budget is very certainly can't afford at the moment. Going forward, could that change? I don't know. But it's a double-edged sword because the reason the race is so successful at the moment is because it's a volunteer-led race. And it's got such a family community to it. And in some ways, that's what people like about it. Yeah, it's a bit low key compared with you go to your mega professional UTMBs and all this sort of stuff, and they have their role, but not everyone likes that sort of thing. And the West Highland Way has its little niche, and it's very successful niche because we just try to do things right by the runners, give the runners what we feel they want, and get their good experience. And we try to treat all the runners the same. Whether it works or not, I don't know. Please give us some feedback. But we try to make the fast runners equally as important as the runners who are racing the cutoffs. It's their race, basically. The West Highland Way is that challenge for everyone to attempt and embrace.
What I've seen over the years is that there have been big name runners coming in and try to take on the West Highland Way, but it's the ones that spend the time on the West Highland Way, put in the graft on the way, that are successful at it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, that's not to say that if Killian had come in his prime, he couldn't have run 12 hours.
Well,
and can I just ask as well, Adrian, if Jim and Francesco happen to listen to this podcast, is that an invitation that they don't have to enter the ballot to get in?
How do I diplomatically answer that one? I think in the entry criteria, if you look carefully, I'm not sure whether it was me or Ian who crafted this sentence many years ago. The rules of entry are all there on the website, but there is this wonderful catch-all phrase that we will accept anyone who we feel will I can't even use that words, will
contribute
to the improvement of the race. Yes, so it's a bit of a catch-all that sort of says, okay, if Killian decided in March he wants to come and run the West Island Way, we probably wouldn't say no.
If Killian decided the day before, I don't think we would say no either.
Well, that might have logistical problems, and Martin Stone, who does the timing, might have a few issues to sort of jump up and down about. But
I'll personally draw his bib for him.
If Killian wants to do it, I think we can twist some arms.
Having said that, being involved with sort of GB teams and going to championships and following the elite scene was for a little bit. They have not their own agenda as such. The life of a top pro athlete is very short. You might get 4, 5, 6 years at the top. You've got to pick your battles and pick the races you really want to do, and the ones, if you're trying to be a full-time athlete, the ones that are going to pay the bills, basically. And the West Island Way is not going to do that.
And for those tuning in as well, Adrian, that aren't aware, because as you've just mentioned there, the entry opens as we're recording tonight this Saturday. We are recording on the Wednesday. What is the entry criteria to get your name into the ballot?
Gosh, that's putting me on the spot, isn't it?
Sorry, Adrian.
Okay, let's go in character here. I think John will correct me if I'm wrong. John Monroe, I think you have to run a 65k race in the last 2, maybe 3 years.
Okay.
Do check on the website, www.westhighlandway.org, for the entry qualifications. And the caveat to that is it must be a race that has some sort of elevation in it. Okay. Marathons are out, Comrades Marathon is out, Edinburgh Glasgow Canal Race is out, River Air Way is out. Basically, you're going to be in Highland country. You could be running over the Devil's Staircase and over the Larry Moor in the middle of the night with it blowing a hoolie, even in July. We want to know you can look after yourself.
Yeah.
So we need to know you've done a race whereby you could, at least have had some elevation and got up to a few hundred feet up, and it's fairly technical terrain. It's not a manicured canal path. It's flat. That you can look after yourself and have accomplished something that is a challenge, and can be transferred to the West Island Way. Because I've been guilty of encouraging many people to do things way out of their comfort zone over the years. I've been charged many times, and they've done it. Frankly, they stepped up and done it. So I'd be the first one to encourage anybody to put their hat in the ring for the Highland Way. You can do it. Anybody can do it. You've seen them, but just have that patience and that little thing that just nags away in your head. Yeah, I think I could do this. It will happen. You have that little flame will get brighter over the course of 2, 3, 4 years.
And just in case Adrian has missed something out, I can't think of anything that he has. We have had Ian Beattie and Keith Hughes and other guests on previously that have all summed up similar things. So go and listen to their episodes. Go on the website. Don't use Adrian as an excuse that you missed something, that you haven't done your own research.
And the final question that we have, unless Mike has anything else, is you are a busy man that we have gathered from this podcast, definitely. What is next for you in general, whether it be running or race directing? What have you got coming up?
My next gig is I am helping out at the Scottish short course cross country in a couple of weeks at Lanark. As well, with many hats that I wear. I'm also an off-track official. I'm a qualified timekeeper, a road race cross-country official. I love cross-country in the winter. If anyone listening to this, whatever their level, they've never done a cross-country race, just find one. They are just the most fun thing in the world to incorporate into winter training. I was at Cumbernauld all the weekend. I started saying this earlier. Over the last 8 weeks, I've been in New York for the 3,100-mile race. One end of the spectrum. I came home, then went off to the Pyrenees for the World Trail Champs with the GB team. And then 2 weekends ago, I was in France as a spectator and a wannabe journalist at the World 24-Hour Championships, which is quite interesting. Then last week, I was at Cumbernauld for the Scottish cross-country relays. And cross country is just a bit like the family of the West Highland Way. You've got Olympians like Megan Keith and Andy Butchart there, and you've got just run-of-the-mill club runners just going out and just having the time of their lives running, just killing themselves doing the 4K cross country. 4K, for God's sake, it's just so short, it's over before you know it. But all human life is there, from sort of 11-year-olds right through to sort of 80-year-olds, just mixing it and just showing what a vibrant sport athletics is.
See, the cross-country community and people, especially the runners, come under the same category as field runners to me, which is a different level and beast. I honestly, cross-country terrifies me.
You say that the cross-country is what, 4K, and your New York race is 5K. Okay, it's 5,000K, but
yes. Exactly.
It's all got its place. So, but I guess it's the same with running. All your technology, all your gadgets, all your gizmos, it's all got its place, whether the place is the bin or whether it's actually in use. We'll see. But anyway, thank you, Adrian, for coming on tonight. Thank you, Nikki, for being Nikki, and it's goodbye from me.
Thanks, Adrian.
Thank you, and entries open on Saturday, 1st of November for next year's West Highland Way race.